Hello and welcome to Theta Sigma's Doctor Who podcast number 56. This week, after feedback, we look at Unit Scientific Advisor and Third Doctor Companion Liz Shaw. Shaw was played by the brilliant Caroline John, who was married to master actor Geoffrey Beevers. This week's only feedback came in the shape of a comment from Michael Doyle, who commented on the Facebook page after last week's show.
Come here, you scrumptious little beauty. A box?
Doctor, what is it?
I've got mail.
Said Michael, starting off with a reference to the reviews of the Destiny of the Doctor audio series in last week's podcast. Nice show. The stories do sound interesting, and the one with Nicholas Briggs as Eccleston sounded good. He got the inflections right. As for Liz Shaw, who we'll be looking at in more detail later in today's show, she was a good choice when they picked her. Strong, genius, accomplished. But then in the end they didn't really know how to use her right. Pertwee needed a Joe Grant as his companion while he was stuck on Earth. But Caroline John played the character with good humour and did very well for her short time with the Doctor. Thanks for your comments, Michael, and for what it's worth I agree in the main. However, I do think that the character of Liz Shaw was right for Pertwee to start with. Why do I say that? Because while Pertwee was brilliant in the role, and to date he's my favourite Doctor, he was pretty much full on right from the start, and there were occasions when Liz was able to put the Third Doctor's feet back on the ground, so to speak. Had Pertwee been matched with Joe right from the start, I probably think his Doctor would have become very overpowering very fast.
You really believe in a man who's helped to save the world twice, with the power to transform his physical appearance?
Caroline Frances John, born on the 19th of September 1940, was an English actress best known for her role as Liz Shaw in Doctor Who. After training at the Central School of Speech and Drama, she worked in theatre, touring with the Royal Shakespeare Company and the National Theatre in Juno and the Paycock, directed by Laurence Olivier, King Lear, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, The Merchant of Venice, and as Hero in Franco Zeffirelli's production of Much Ado About Nothing. John played the role of the Doctor's companion in 1970, opposite John Pertwee's Third Doctor. She was recommended to then Doctor Who producer Peter Bryant by another BBC producer, James Kellan Jones, who sent Bryant and his associate Derek Sherwin photographs of her. Unlike most of the preceding and subsequent female companions of the Doctor, Shaw was a brilliant scientist and understood much of the Doctor's technobabble. She and the Doctor discussed things on a more equitable level of intelligence, and the Doctor respected and rarely patronised her. However, incoming producer Barry Letts believed the character to be too intellectual to be a suitable companion to the Doctor, and decided against renewing her contract for the next season. During her final story, Inferno, John also played the part of section leader Elizabeth Shaw, an alter ego of her regular character that the Doctor encounters in an alternative timeline. John reprised the role of Shaw, albeit as a phantom, in the anniversary episode The Five Doctors, and also appeared in the special episode Dimensions in Time in 1993. In the 1990s she appeared in a series of straight-to-video releases, including The Stranger, Breach of the Peace, and as Liz Shaw in the Probe series of stories written by Mark Gatiss, and featuring numerous actors from the history of Doctor Who, including John Pertwee, Peter Davison, Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy. In these stories, made by production company BBV, a pipe-smoking Liz Shaw works as an investigator for the Probe organisation. More recently, John has appeared in 2 Big Finish Productions audio dramas based on Doctor Who. Dust Breeding in 2001, although there she's playing a character other than Liz Shaw, and The Bluetooth in 2007, where as Liz she recounts in narrative form an adventure she once had with the Doctor and Unit. After The Bluetooth, she played Liz in 4 more Companion Chronicle audio plays: Binary, The Sentinels of the New Dawn, and Shadow of the Past. Her final audio play, The Lost Post, which she recorded on the 26th of January 2012, was released after her death. John played the role of Laura Lyons in the BBC adaptation of the Sherlock Holmes story The Hound of the Baskervilles, opposite Tom Baker. The 4-part adventure was produced by Barry Letts. John also starred with her husband Geoffrey Beevers in an episode of Agatha Christie's Poirot entitled Problem at Sea, as Mr. and Mrs. Tolliver. They both had roles in the audio play Dust Breeding and the TV adaptation of the political thriller A Very British Coup, although they didn't appear on screen together. John has also appeared in the film Love Actually. Caroline John was the third of 8 children born to theatre director Alexander John and his wife the actress and singer Vera Winkworth. John was married to actor Geoffrey Beevers. The couple had 3 children, a daughter Daisy and sons Ben and Tom. Sadly, Caroline John passed away on the 5th of June 2012 from cancer.
Doctor, you're not still thinking of making a run with the TARDIS console, are you?
The part of Liz Shaw was given to Caroline John. She was recommended to the outgoing production team by James Kellan Jones. Although John had been working regularly on stage, including at the National Theatre under Laurence Olivier, she was frustrated that she'd not won any TV roles. According to several DVD releases in the Doctor Who range and interviews with the actress herself, taking dramatic steps, John had herself photographed in a bikini and sent the picture around to BBC producers. The photo ended up on Peter Bryant's desk, and he offered her the part once they'd met without any formal audition or screen test. After appearing in the 25 episodes that made up the 4 stories of the 7th season, John left the programme because she was pregnant with her first child. However, producer Barry Letts had already decided against renewing her contract. Letts and Terence Dix viewed the character as unsuccessful, feeling that she didn't fulfil the companion's role of asking the Doctor for exposition and acting as an audience surrogate. In 1978, John expressed mixed feelings about her role as Liz, saying, "I was excited at first to be a brainy girl, but all the directors wanted really was a sexy piece. It was such an effort looking glamorous on cold clay pits and rubbish dumps. I enjoyed the series, but I found it restrictive after a while." John particularly enjoyed her role as the fascist version of Liz, seen in the alternate universe in Inferno, disliking when she had to change back to the normal Liz. Liz has been seen as more of an assistant than a traditional companion because she never travelled in the TARDIS. Unlike other co-conspirator companions, Liz serves as a bridge between the Doctor's world and the more grounded Unit. She's also been described as more mature and equal to the Doctor than previous companions. Following John's death in 2012, current Doctor Who showrunner Stephen Moffat described Liz as not just a sidekick but a scientist in her own right, and an example of his sentiment that the Doctor's companions should never be his assistants. They're the people who keep him on his toes. Christopher Barn of the AV Club described Liz as a missed opportunity, because she had such a short time as an assistant, and it seemed to him that the producers really didn't know what to do with a strong, smart female character. Barn also commented that Liz's cynicism and scepticism were a good quality for a scientist, but also sometimes an off-putting characteristic. In an analysis of Doctor Who and the Silurians for Doctor Who The Television Companion, David J. Howe and Stephen James Walker were positive towards Liz, who they said was a very good foil, far removed from the naive young companions of the past. Radio Times writer Mark Braxton wrote that despite her short appearance, Liz established herself thanks to her brilliant mind, a succession of crazy outfits, and Caroline John's consummate professionalism as an actress. Braxton also felt that she was too caring to be cold, and despite not having the companionly affection later seen with Jo Grant and Sarah Jane Smith, they had an innate respect for each other. Braxton's colleague Patrick Mulcan, while calling John a gifted actress, criticised the way Liz was severely styled in her first appearance. SFX's Ian Berryman also criticised Liz in Spearhead from Space, writing that she was so narky she's annoying. Will Salmon of the same magazine listed Liz's departure as one of the worst in the series, since she just vanished between seasons. DVD Talk's John Sinnott felt that John could come across as a bit stiff and didn't have much chemistry with Pertwee, most likely due to their personal relationship. In 2010, the readers of the Radio Times voted Liz the 27th best companion from a list of 48 options. In Ridley Scott's 2012 film Prometheus, Naomi Rapace's character is Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, a probable reference to Caroline John's character, as Scott used to work for the BBC as a designer.
Nothing.
Miss Shaw.
Stallman's cut off the power. Wherever the doctor is, he's trapped.
Liz Shaw first appears in Doctor Who in 1970 in the story Spearhead from Space. Having been drafted from the University of Cambridge by Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart as a scientific advisor to UNIT, she's an accomplished scientist, an expert on meteorites with degrees in medicine, physics and a dozen other subjects. Her extensive training, however, is still pale in comparison to the Doctor's own knowledge of the universe and scientific principles far beyond those of Earth. Sceptical at first of UNIT's ambit to defend against alien invasion, Shaw changes her mind when she encounters the newly regenerated Doctor and becomes involved in defeating the plans of the Nestine Consciousness and the Autons. Liz continues to work with the Doctor and UNIT through encounters with the Silurians, the so-called Ambassadors of Death, and the Inferno Project, where the Doctor also encountered section leader Elizabeth Shaw, an alter ego of the scientists in an alternative timeline. She eventually resigns from UNIT and returns to Cambridge. There was no farewell scene on screen for Liz, with her departure simply being announced by the Brigadier at the beginning of Terror of the Autons. She reportedly told the Brigadier that all the Doctor really needed was someone to pass him his test tubes and tell him how brilliant he was. Liz's life after UNIT isn't explored in the series, though in the 2010 Sarah Jane Adventures story Death of the Doctor, one of the UNIT characters mentions that Miss Shaw can't get back from Moonbase until Sunday. Liz also appears in a series of straight-to-video stories produced by BBV under the umbrella title of Probe, in which she works with a paranormal investigation organisation not unlike UNIT, called the Preternatural Research Bureau. Liz also appeared in 5 Big Finish audio stories: The Bluetooth, Shadow of the Past, The Sentinels of the New Dawn, Binary, and The Last Post, which introduces Rowena Cooper as Liz's mother, Emily. The 1996 Virgin Missing Adventures novel The Scales of Injustice by Gary Russell explores the events surrounding Liz Shaw's resignation from UNIT. Liz additionally appears with UNIT in the Missing Adventures novel The Eye of the Giant and the Past Doctor Adventures novel The Devil Goblins from Neptune. And eventually Liz does travel in the TARDIS with the Third Doctor and Joe Grant in the Past Doctor Adventures novel The Wages of Sin, which takes place after the Third Doctor regains his freedom. A parallel version of her appears in the novel Bloodheat, where she's still a part of UNIT, fighting against the Silurians in a world where the Doctor died before defeating them. According to the 1997 Virgin New Adventures novel Eternity Weeps, Liz sadly dies in 2003, the victim of an extraterrestrial terraforming virus contracted while she was part of a UNIT team investigating an alien artifact on the Moon, despite the best efforts of the Seventh Doctor to save her.
Oh, goodbye, my dear chap. I must say I've had the time of my lives.
And that's all for this week. As always, my thanks for listening, and if you have any thoughts or feedback on the show, feel free to leave it on Theta Sigma's Doctor Who podcast on Facebook, or you can email the show at respectthething@outlook.com. That's respectthething@outlook.com. Next week we start a 2-week mini-series looking at 4th Doctor companion Romana Dvoratralunda, with a look at Romana 1, as played by Mary Tan. Thank you for listening to Theta Sigma's Doctor Who podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all copyright and property of the BBC, and no infringement is intended.